Whoa, who's ever felt like totally overwhelmed when trying to book travel? Whether it's because there's too many options, you can't find a nonstop flight, it's not within your company's budget, or it's not on your preferred airline. The good news is we're here to talk to you today about how AI can help power your travel and hopefully relieve some of this sense of overwhelm. I'm Eva Blumenfeld, and I'm joined today with my colleague, Eulalie Chap, and we have the following agenda to go over with you all. First, we're going to talk about real-time decision-making and how AI can guide you through that. Next, we'll cover productivity with AI. We'll talk through enhancing your travel experience and the feedback loop that we use at Concur, and then we'll close out. First, how can AI help us improve our decision-making in real time? Well, here we have a flight that goes from San Francisco to Atlanta, and hopefully this could look somewhat familiar to some of you. This is how it's currently displayed in the new Concur travel experience. We're showing you that this is a recommended flight, and it's recommended through AI and search. And the reason for that is because it's nonstop, it's a company preferred airline, and it's the least expensive option. And so what we're doing here is not only utilizing AI and search to elevate the most relevant options to the customer, but we're also being transparent about why we're showing you that option. Why is that good? Well, first, it reduces risk and helps customers adhere to their company's policy. Next, it also hopefully helps you with decision making because you don't have to sift through thousands of results. We're going to bring the most relevant ones to you. And then lastly, it's decreasing the errors that might show up on your expense report and hopefully also increasing your confidence in the decision making process. Now, when it comes to decision making, we've also outlined some best practices that you can use with AI. The first one is to make sure that you're not completely reinventing a workflow. So what that means is here at Concur, we're keeping the user experience pretty much the same, but just adding in our AI features in a way that's seamlessly integrated into the workflow. And that way the customer experience is not disrupted in any way. The second best practice is that we're taking a data-driven approach by using predictive analytics to ensure that we're proactively compliant. And Eulalie will talk about this a little bit more in the presentation as we go on. And then the last thing we're doing is we're also making sure that we're not just concentrated on what's happening internally at Concur, but we're also keeping our eyes and ears peeled outside in the industry for the new models that are coming out and anything we can learn to integrate the best-in-class technology into our product for our users. And that all helps us remain the most productive and efficient at Concur. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about productivity with AI now. So I thought it would be fun to figure out what are the most common ways that people are using ChatGPT. Now, at this point in time, I can assume that a lot of us have experimented with AI on our own, whether it be for personal or professional reasons, and we know how we each individually use it, but I thought it would be cool to see how it's used most commonly. And what I found is that from a work perspective, a lot of the prompts have to do with synthesizing, summarizing, and optimizing people's work lives. So write me an email response to X scenario, or draft me a business proposal, or brainstorm ideas, generate information for me and summarize information for me so that I can be most productive. Now, this doesn't just apply to people's professional lives, but I also found a lot of productivity prompts that have to do with people's personal lives. Like ChatGPT, help me plan a week-long itinerary for Seattle or such and such exciting destination. Or can you please recommend books or movies similar to this title that I enjoyed? And so we're seeing a crossover from both professional and personal standpoints of people relying on AI to optimize and make their tasks more productive. Now, what's happening at Concur when it comes to productivity? Well, we've also outlined some best practices with productivity in AI. And first and foremost, I think it's very important to mention that we at SAP and SAP Concur have an AI ethics handbook. And so this is publicly available to anyone to see how we are adhering to guidelines that make sure that our models are not exposed to any biases or hallucinations that might compromise the integrity and the ethics of our AI. And so when we're trying to be productive and optimize every task possible and take shortcuts, one shortcut we will never take is ethics. So ethical AI is really important to us. The next thing that's really worth mentioning here is that not every task is worth optimizing. Not every task is suitable for automation. So writing a symphony, for example, might not be best suited for an AI model to do for you. But something like optimizing search results and filtering through results, that's a great task for automation. Another task that might not be suitable for automation, like the symphony example, is customer service. So these examples are just to prove that certain tasks are very well suited for automation, and others we prefer humans to actually be there as part of the process, and so those are not for automation. The next best practice we have when it comes to productivity is to make sure that we're bringing our employees and our customers along for the ride and training them as we're rolling out new features in our tools. And then lastly, we're constantly monitoring our performance and looking to our customer groups for feedback to make sure that we're really enhancing the travel experience. And so Eulalie is going to talk a little bit more about that now.
Thank you so much, Eva. So now let's go over how we've been enhancing the travel experience over the last year at Concur for your travelers. So as Eva mentioned earlier, booking travel can sometimes be really overwhelming for the users. There are a lot of options that they can choose from, and sometimes the users actually exactly know what flight they want to be booking. But as they would tell you or they would tell us, they cannot find it on Concur, or it's really hard for them to find it on Concur. So when we set out the journey around like trying to have personalized AI flight recommendation, as Eva mentioned, like we looked at this problem that the users were saying, I cannot find this flight on Concur because it's too hard for me to find it. So we decided that it was a good problem for us to solve, and how are we more likely to like help the user find that one flight they're looking with AI. So we looked a little bit at the data we had, and we started with an hypothesis that told us that most of the flight that people are booking are nonstop flight or flights with lesser flight, especially for business travel. You're trying to optimize for your employees' time when they're traveling. You don't want them to be spending hours and hours in airports getting delayed. So this was a very important criteria. And then we also know that we have a lot of people that are booking flights within their frequent flyer program. The other thing that we wanted to make sure we balance is, as Eva mentioned, the compliance aspect of it, because you obviously don't want your employees to start booking flights that are extremely expensive just because it's within their frequent flyer program. So we made sure that all the flights we were recommending are flights that are within the company policy, so we can keep promoting good behavior and respect of like the travel program that you've set for your employees. So we looked at those options, and what we did is actually we started building logic to try to predict which flight a user was most likely to pick. And when we did that, we actually started just running our algorithm in the background. And so what we did is look at the flight someone was picking and look if it was a flight that we would have actually recommended. We tested that, and when we looked at the results, we were pretty happy that in most cases we were able to predict which flight the user was going to pick. And so we did this, and then we decided, well, let's try to see if we can change the way we display our flights so that those flights that the user is more likely to book can be at the top of the page for them to pick from, instead of having them trying to look for that flight on like page number 3, 4, 20, whatever the page was going to be for them. So We didn't want to change the sort order because we didn't want to be touching that, but we decided, hey, if we can just pick 3 flights, sometimes it's even less than 3, can we actually just put them at the top of the page and see if it helps the user find the flights that they were looking for. So here I'm going to show you a demo of how we've done that. So here we have a user who's looking for a flight between San Francisco and New York. So they pick their destination, they pick their dates, and then they start a search. So in the background, as I was mentioning, we're pulling all the flight results that we have available. And at the top of the page, we are trying to identify those flights that the user is more likely to select. So you can see those 3 flights with a banner on the side and with a little AI icon. And when you click it, that's exactly what Eva showed you earlier. For full transparency, it shows to the user why we think this is a good recommendation, so they can understand why we picked that flight for them. So this is how we've been building our flight recommendation, but this is definitely not the end of the journey. So we have a lot more improvements that we want to do with this logic, because one thing that we know, for example, is if we can use the booking behavior of a specific user, we are more likely to be predicting the flight options that they're selecting. So if we can see that someone who's flying the same route frequently always takes the same 6 a.m. flight on a specific airline, then we want to make sure that that's the one we are recommending. Or if someone is always flying nonstop, or if they fly with one stop but they actually have a connection where they prefer to do in a specific city, well, we can actually learn from this user behavior and try to be better at our predictions. So the reason why I'm telling you that we're not done yet is because we've been following this process. So I want to walk you through how we've been thinking, especially in the AI space, to try and get new solutions out of the door. We know it's important to get them out quickly, to have your employees benefit from the AI we can put into our workflow today. But where we really start is always we try to identify a user problem. Once we've identified this problem, we look at potential solution and we want to test the potential solution. So it doesn't mean that when we test the potential solution, what we're testing will be a success, but we want to see if it is successful. Even if it is successful, we look at 2 things. So first, we look at the user behavior. So we look, is the user selecting, in this case, the flight that we recommended? Are they not selecting those flights? We try to identify why they would not be selecting the flight that we've been recommending. And then the second part is obviously we are also listening to the customer and user feedback. So users give us feedback through a survey we display at the end of their booking flow, and our customers can get to us and share some feedback about what they like and what they do not like about the changes we've made. So we take both of that into account, and like it's this perpetual loop where we go ahead and test other potential solutions. So in this case, for the flight recommendation, we tested it between November and December. We made it available to everyone in December, and then in February, we actually pushed new iteration where we changed some of the logic we had because we got some feedback, we looked at the user behavior, and we have more coming up in the next month. So this is this continual process of like just improving the solution, making it better, and trying to really leverage this AI to solve your user problems. Now let's shift a little bit into the future. So this is something that is not live yet, but we are showing a demo during this fusion, but it's our meeting location planner. So what our meeting location planner does is it is integrated in Joule, our AI assistant, and what it does, it helps you identify location for your offsite. So the idea behind it is like, especially post-pandemic, as people have started to have more distributed team and it's harder for people to get together, sometimes it's hard to identify where you should be meeting based on where everyone is located. Well, with the meeting location planner, we can help you figure this out. So you tell us where your attendees are located, and we will try to match and find location for your offsite. And what we try to do is we try to also do it based on company location, because we know that when you hold an offsite, you of course want to make sure that your employees are getting together, that they have meeting space to do so, and being close to like one of your offices makes it a little bit more easier. We also try to create it based on what's convenient nearby. So is there a nonstop flight for the attendees? Like, is it easy for them to get there? Are there restaurants? Are there team activities and things like that? And then once we've identified a location, we try to identify hotel based on the location you pick. So same again, try to find something that's convenient where all the people traveling in town can stay at. And then what we do is we get you a high-level estimate for your offsite based on your Concur negotiated rates, both for your hotels and your flight. We try to give you a high-level estimate so you know roughly how much your offsite is going to cost for each location, so you can be mindful of your budget. And in the end, what we do is we draft an email where you can actually tell your employees, this is a summary of where we're meeting, when we are meeting, and it gives you all the information for them to actually book. And we include in it a deep link, which means that when the employees are getting this invitation to the offsite, they just have to click the link, and they will be right away directed into booking their flight into Concur for the right location, for the right dates, and no matter where they're coming from, we will either use their home airport, or if we don't have that information, we will ask them where they're flying from. So this is a concept that we have working now. We're planning to do an early access program in Q2 to get some people to start using it and give us more feedback. Again, going back to what I was explaining about this iterative process, we have a working version. We're not done yet. We want to make it better, but we need feedback for that. And so we will have in Q2 an option for people to sign up and then try and use it. There is a lot more that we already know we want to do in the future, but again, we're trying to get some value out the door for your employees, get some feedback. So what we want to do in the future is the ability, for example, to just send an invite to all the attendees. We would love to be able to check attendees' availability too, so you can plan it. When you're planning your offsite, you make sure you don't plan it over someone who is out of office. It's always hard, obviously. You can never find some time where everyone is available because we all have busy schedule and we always have something on the calendar. But if we can spot for like out of office or things like that, it's usually easier for us to help you plan your offsite. So this is coming up. This is really exciting, and we hope we can share more information when it's ready for people to sign up for an early access program. So today we've talked about a lot of things. We have talked about how real-time decision guidance really enhances like compliance and efficiency. We've been talking about like AI-powered tools to boost your productivity, streamline process. We've talked about our AI recommendation and how they've been improving the traveler experience. And then Eva also walked you through some best practice for AI adoption into integrating into your existing decision making process, making sure that you always monitor, refine AI model based on feedback, and how you make sure to empower, train your employees with the latest AI technology. I think what we can recommend for your next steps is, of course, like make sure to explore AI-driven tools to see how you can optimize your travel program. Make sure you share feedback with us on anything AI that we get out the door so we can keep going with this iterative process and actually get your feedback into the tool and make sure that we build a better experience for your traveler. And then engage with SAP Concur resources and community for insights and stay ahead by leveraging AI to drive efficiency and innovation. So now we hope that like Eva really started with this person who was way overwhelmed by the choices and the options to them. We hope that with AI and the tools we've been building, we are now making this process a lot more easier. And we hope that this person is now feeling much more relaxed about the options that they selected for their upcoming travel. So before we wrap up, we want to make sure to share a friendly reminder that you can actually make very valuable connection with attendees and experts. So to connect with your peers, make sure to navigate to the Chat with Attendee page. And if you have any outstanding question when you're attending a live event, you can click on Chat with the expert to connect with Solution Advisor. Also, your feedback is very, very important to us. So please don't forget, once you've attended the session, to complete the survey and tell us what you liked and what you didn't like. Same iterative process. We'll make it better as we go. So make sure to give us your feedback. We truly, truly appreciate any feedback we can get. Thank you so much for attending.